Hello friends, it's Funky Play Brothers, and please remember to subscribe to our YouTube. And today we're reading an original novel, Piggy Hunt by Terrance Crawford, Scholastic. Book 3, Chapter 5, Part 5! The final part! After all those other parts! And this one is 23 pages, I think? A loud banging noise on the outside of the floor startled the quartet. The chorus of inarticulate grunts that accompanied the sound that let Ben know that the infected creatures knew they were here. Ben's eyes darted upward. Of course, they had been drawn to the lab when Ben had turned on the lights. As long as the infected creatures stayed outside, Ben and his friends had nothing to worry about. Ben consulted the laboratory's directory. The lab was connected to the hospital via an elevator. Whatever was going on in the hospital was the key to all this. Badgie leaned in to examine one of the glass cylinders more closely. The creature that floated out inside was hooked up to all kinds of monitors and machines. Badgie tapped on the glass, and immediately a tiny tinkling sound echoed throughout the lab as Badgie's nails made contact with the glass. The creature inside opened its eyes, focusing an angry red pupil on Badgie, bubbles erupting from its mouth, and its roar in the tank. Pressing its cloven hooves against the glass, it closed its eyes just as quickly. Machines beeped rapidly. Badgie leaped back in surprise, stumbling backwards into the laboratory keypad. The door was whisked back open. Several dozen pairs of hands grabbing Badgie was pulling him back through the door. Billy screamed, grabbing his barbell, set the leaping into action, plowing through the creatures as he attempted to grab Badgie back from them. Soon, even Billy succumbed to the sheer number of them, both he and Badgie being swept away into the swarm. Ben moved to go after them, but Ollie had held him back, grabbing him by the hem of his jacket. "We have to go," Ollie shouted over the rumble of footsteps, the infected creatures trampling over one another as they came pouring in through the door. Ollie was right, though Ben couldn't keep but the scan the horde of signs of Billy and Badgie and Billy. As Ollie pulled him away, the duo broke into a run, bolting down the laboratory hall as quickly as their legs would carry them. Behind them, a veritable wave of creatures crushed everything that came into contact with, leaving only destruction and the smell of old bacon in their wake. Ollie pressed the elevator call button frantically, the red digital display counting down the door floors before it reached ground level. Ollie pressed the button again as if jamming it repeatedly would suddenly make the elevator car appear. The elevator arrived with a pleasant ding. Ben and Ollie leapt inside before the doors even finished opening. Ollie passed the closed door button desperately, and the elevator doors gave a frustrated whine as they whisked shut. Though the elevator shaft, Ben could hear the telltale sound of the creatures ramming their heads against the elevator doors. Music played gently over the speakers as Ben and Ollie rode the elevator in silence. What could they say to each other that had not already been said? The elevator continued to journey up to the hospital floor, a cheery ding as they passed each level. Seconds passed, turning into long minutes before the elevator doors finally slid open, greeting Ben and Ollie with the unmistakable sanitized smell of hospital air. They were in the right place. The elevators closed behind them, taking the light and music with them instantly. The hallway was plunged into darkness. The only light was now coming from a room at the end of the hall. From the end of the hall, Ben could see the silhouette of a single person. He crept down the room, Ollie following him in turn. Placing a hand on the doorknob, he took a deep breath, giving Ollie a solemn nod. Ollie returned the nod, and Ben steeled himself for whatever may come next as he turned the doorknob and entered the room. It took Ben's eyes a moment to adjust to the harsh overhead light of the hospital room. Charts covered the walls, almost papering the room from floor to ceiling. In the corner, a machine beeped steadily. A series of thick wires attached the machine to a bed. In a bed, a woman lay unconscious, hooked into the machine, but a series of tubes. A chessboard sat in the middle of the room, a game abandoned seemingly mid-match. The silhouette remained in the corner of the room, shrouded in shadow. "Mr. P, I presume," Ben asked, moving his hands to his belt. The shadowy figure arose from its seat, turning to face the boys, an orange-red eye floating in the darkness, giving way to the disoriented creature that had been stalking their every move. The creature stepped into light, somehow looking even more horrible than before. The creature had decayed even further since their last meeting, and it stumbled as it walked. "Sit," the creature moaned in its horrible, guttural voice, gesturing to the seat in the middle of the room. But you can't be Mr. P," Ben stammered, trying to pull it together. The helicopter, the walkie-talkie. Ben's mind was reeling. "He's not Mr. P," came another voice from the corner as the man stepped into the light. "I am." Mr. P was a purple sweet potato of a man. A small and thick black mustache swallowed up and no-button nose sit hang beneath beady black eyes. Mr. P wore a black suit and pants, with a matching fedora adorned with a white flower. He had shoved brown socks into black shoes and had a red tie hung crisply around his neck. If this were truly the wealthiest man in Lucella, he was certainly dressed the part. We don't get many visitors," Mr. P stated casually, as if he were discussing the day's weather. "Do you share how you came upon us?" "Long story," spat Ben's curtly. Yeah, added Holly. "It would probably take 3 decent-sized novels to tell it all properly, maybe 4, but I'm not greedy." "Please sit," Mr. P offered, gesturing to the empty seat. "I'm sure you'll want to hear my story," and he won't ask him again, as if to emphasize Mr. P's point. The disoriented creature in the corner grunted loudly. Ben took the seat in the middle of the room. Mr. P must have caught Ben's eyes trailing over the chessboard. "Do you play?" asked Mr. P, a spark of excitement gleaming behind those beady little eyes of his. It was becoming clear that the decaying creature had been Mr. P's only chess companion for a long time. "The game of kings and the kings of games. It goes all the way back to India in the 6th. "We know what chess is," Ollie interrupted. "It's a way for writers to make a character seem smart without doing the legwork. Now, what exactly is going on here?" Mr. P took a deep breath there before he began and gestured to the woman in the bed, still hooked up to the machinery. "This is Miss P." Ben's eyes flickered across the room to the woman, really taking her in for the first time. "I was developing a cure for the sickness my wife, Mr. P, had. I put all the time and money into saving her. I even rushed the doctors to test the supposed cure. The doctors kept telling me the cure was unstable, but I didn't listen. I need volunteers." As Mr. P continued on the story, Ben's jaw dropped and his eyes went wide. The distorted creature before him wasn't a monster at all. He was a test subject, or someone like Mr. P would be keeping tabs on the happenings. On Lucella sending the decaying creature out to keep watch and report back. Then came the kind Piggy family, continued Mr. P. They wanted help. A shiver ran down Ben's spine as he thought about how much experimentation Mr. P had done in the name of saving his wife. The creatures floating in the liquid downstairs must have just the beginning. The proof of his failure was currently banging their heads against the elevator door. An entire swarm of infected creatures, an entire island of monsters, all because one man's hubris. The initial results were significant. The test subject became stronger and was overjoyed, so I gave the cure to Miss P immediately. Substance 128, we called it. She was getting better until we heard news that the test subject was starting to become hostile. That was an understatement. Miss P's cure was turning people into infected monsters. Highly contagious creatures of low brain power an immense hunger. I thought it had nothing to do with my cure, but eventually Miss P became aggressive too. The last time I saw her, she had been lost to the sickness. I wanted to stop her, but didn't have the heart to, so I let her go. I tried again to make cures. Then you came along. We found signs of the infection within you, but you were still alive. Ollie's eyes met Ben's. It was true back in Doveport. He had thought he had been scratched, but when nothing came of it, he pushed the thought from his mind. He had almost forgotten the incident entirely until now. I tried to do more research. The hospital we were at was raided, and Sally and I were separated. That's why I tasked you with rescuing her. Tell me, where's Sally Squirrel now? Ben looked to the floor, unable to answer. All the people he had lost over the last several months, and he was finally face to face with the man responsible. I gave my wife another rushed cure, thinking it would save her. I realized what I've done brought her here. Mr. P stood with drawn-out sigh. There you have it. There's my selfish, sorrowful story. No one spoke for a moment until Ollie broke the silence. Cool story. You're still going away for a long time. Oh, my dear boy. Mr. P smiled as he pressed a button on the wall, calling for the elevator. The doors opened with a familiar ding. Ben could hear the creatures from the lab, grunting and growling, waiting for the next chance at a meal. A sea of red eyes advanced into the lab, each one of them forced into the life by the man in front of them. Even if you were leaving this place alive, your children, who's going to believe you? That seemed at a good time as any. Ben stood from his seat, his hands moved to his belt once more. You got all that, Agent Ben asked. Static clicked on the other line on Ben's walkie-talkie fastened to his belt. Loud and clear came Agent Willow's response from the communicator. Crash! Glass shattered as silver pie agents descended from the ceiling, surrounding Mr. P and the distorted creature. Agent after agent flooded into the room, weapons drawn as they secured the area. Neutralizing creatures after creature, after each one of the infected creatures lunged to bite Ben, finding his teeth instead wrapped around the wrong end of the stainless steel barbell. Billy smiled down at Ben, pulling him into a bell hug, which was much like a bear hug, but with obviously a bovine differences. Superior weapons and tactics brought the fight to end quickly in favor of the Silver Paw. Bringing up the rear, following half a dozen Silver Paw agents, was Willow herself. She marched directly up to Mr. P, a handful of agents already forcing him to his knees. Willow presented a pair of silver handcuffs. Mr. P, by the authority of the Silver Paw, you're under arrest for crimes against Luke Keller. The Silver Paw agents handcuffed Mr. P and pulled him to his feet. You heard everything, Mr. P asked Willow. You were listening the whole time? Ben nodded. He knew the quickest way to ensure that Willow followed up with him was to hang up on her. What can I say? Ollie chimed in. We're professionals. The Silver Paw agents grabbed Mr. P by the elbows and began to lead him out of the room, but Ben stopped them with an extended arm. He had one more question for the man. I'm sorry, but didn't you learn something here that you can't do whatever you want? That actions have consequences. Mr. P raised his head slightly to meet Ben's gaze. My dear boy, when you were rich and powerful, you only learned the lessons that you choose to. We'll be back. Ben squirted his brows. We, Silver Paw agents, led Mr. P out of the room and made arrangements to carefully transport his wife to the safe place. Ben gave Mr. P one last look over his shoulder, and he could have sworn he saw the eye of insolence looking back at him. Or was it just his imagination? The distorted, decaying creature was being tended to by several Silver Paw agents. Was being tended by the dinging of the elevator had much less ominous on the way down. Though Ben was surprised he could hear anything at all. The sounds of Badger cursing loudly as Silver Paw agents loaded him into an ambulance. He had taken quite the beating, but after a quick patch-up, he would be no worse for wear. Badger gave a thumbs up as they loaded him into the vehicle. Ben, Billy, Willow, and Ollie walked outside, the sun shining through, the fog disappearing. the mist and illuminating a clear morning sky. For the first time that Ben could remember, he looked at his friends and smiled. There had once been an island called Lucella, far past Doveport and somewhere south of the North Sea. Its outer edges were sprinkled with long beaches and stretches of picturesque mountains that led to a sultan of dense forests. In the middle of the island was a city, a sprawling metropolis bustling with life. On a normal day, thousands of people went about their daily lives, tending to their gardens and watching one another's yard for the occasional monster. On a normal day, crossing guards waved children across the street to school, and neighbors greeted one another cheerily as they passed on the streets. On a normal day, the sun hung low over the island, casting a lazy glow across the sea. The island of Lucella was due for a normal day. And that's the end of Piggy Hunt, Book 3. I rate the book a 5 out of 10, 10 thumbs ups, because it took so long in Chapter 5. No chapter has to be around 100 plus pages. So, friends, thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Follow us on social media. It's Funky Play Bros, Funky Play Brothers. Support of like cashapp, $, Funky Play Bros. Thanks for watching. Bye.